Hello and welcome to another Spectrum Geeks video. My name is Dale, and as you can see, I now have the GivEnergy inverter and batteries installed, so I'm going to talk to you through the installation process, how this stuff works and what I think of it. So excuse all the mess and include my mess, because right now I'm still working on the house renovation. You see the stud wall that I've just been working on today, but you can see the GivEnergy Hybrid Inverter is in, as well as the two 9.5 kilowatt hours of energy storage in these batteries. So I'm going to take you through it. Before we get started though, I will say I mentioned in the previous video that after GSM installed the solar panels, that there were some issues in terms of they installed the slightly wrong solar panels and didn't use the top LED flashing. Well, great customer service. Just after follow up and explaining that to them, they basically knocked the money off the top of the bill for the stuff they didn't use, and then gave me kind of an additional discount for kind of inconvenience and stuff due to the panels not being the right one. So happy with the follow-up customer service, and as you can see, they've now done the installation of the GivEnergy battery and the inverter. It took them about 2.5 days. They haven't installed many of the GivEnergy batteries and hybrid inverters, so it took them a little bit longer, but all installed. So I have the fuse box, assuming, which is a new one that I had put in as part of preparation for this extension. You can see just there is the Power 2, which we're not going to mention is for that being a future one, but yeah, they did a really neat install. In the future, this little area here is going to be kind of put into like a plant room, so things will change a little bit in the future, and that's why they are currently kind of just sat down here. But really neat install with the two DC isolators, the PV isolation, everything as well. The actual commissioning app for GivEnergy, my understanding is that they are updating that, but I saw that when the installer was doing it. It's not super intuitive for the installer, but again I'm just comparing this compared to like Solar Edge and the Tesla stuff that I've seen in the past, but they got it working. We had a few issues to get things connected to the internet. Basically just behind here in the hybrid inverter are some dip switches, and as default they're set to have no connection for Wi-Fi or the Ethernet port on there, so make sure obviously that's configured in the instruction manual, which you download off the internet. Nothing comes in the boxes other than the units themselves and some screws and everything to bolt them to there. But once that's all connected up, the process is relatively intuitive. Solar started generating straight away, even before things were registered and set up. You basically put in there the information as to the serial numbers of the inverter, serial numbers of the batteries. You put in information about the panels, where they are kind of in terms of facing the sun, you know, the angle and the compass and everything in there as well. And then with the batteries, it takes 12 to 14 hours depending on the batteries. Basically does a full charge and then a full discharge to calibrate the batteries, so it knows kind of what its 0 and 100% piece is, and then they start working as expected. So you can see here, this is the GivEnergy Hybrid 3 inverter, I think it is. So it has no dongle hang out, it's all inbuilt into this one, and I think it looks pretty smart. I'll try and move the camera around, not hurt my arm. And you can see here, quite basic in terms of information on the inverter. Information showing that load is going to the house, solar is coming in. Information from the grid, that's a kind of two-way one. So right now it's more lit up on the right hand side, shows we're exporting. And same with the battery, it's two-way as well, shows that we're currently filling up the battery. So the batteries themselves, again, they are relatively heavy. I mean, you can lift them on your own, but best with two people. And nicely with GivEnergy, have put handles on either side, so it does make it easier to move things around. There's an on and off switch on the right hand side. Just next to there is also this status indicator, which has lights for 100, 75, 50, 25%, and obviously off when it's empty. And then on the left hand side is where it kind of connects in from the battery to the inverter. This is the primary battery, and then it has another cable that then comes out into the secondary battery. I think you have actually up to 5 of these batteries all daisy chained together, so I have got just about enough room if I ever want to have a third one in there as well. We'll see what kind of prices look like and how the system generates over time. I think I've got 33 kilowatt hours of storage altogether. That's probably going to be enough. And there's also like a little I don't know what you call it, a little fuse boxy bit on the left hand side as well. It's got a trip switch and also some dip switches where you set whether the battery is the primary or secondary battery in there as well. Now the GivEnergy batteries are IP rated, so they can be installed outside, but unlike the Tesla Powerwall 2, there has no active cooling in there or anything, so it's recommended that obviously you might perhaps put it in an insulated shelter or something, because it will impact its performance in the cold. I think people also recommend that you put a rain shelter over the top as well, just to stop any water ingress. But as you can see here, I've got mine kind of installed here in the extension, where I'm going to, like I said, build a little plant room around it. But the actual noise from it is really minimal. There's a little bit of electrical hum, but again, because it is all passive cooling, heating and what have you, there's no kind of moving parts in there that generate any vibrations or loud hum that's transferred through the wall. And I think actually aesthetically looking, they actually look pretty nice. So I wouldn't want them in my living room per se, but they are relatively attractive to look at. Mount on the wall is super easy with brackets both for the inverter and for the batteries. And again, like I said, the install took about 2.5 days. Probably could be done a little bit quicker if you've got an installer that's using them kind of every day. But my installer, again, does do GivEnergy, just some of their other solutions like the Powerwall and stuff get installed more often. A couple of things to know about the GivEnergy system, particularly this situation here where I have the 5 kilowatt hybrid inverter. So 5 kilowatts of solar generation is possible, but when it comes to charging and discharging the battery, that is limited to 3.6 kilowatts. So that's the inverter itself, nothing to do with the batteries. So you could have 1 battery, 2 batteries, up to 5 batteries. Does not change its ability to charge and discharge above that 3.6 kilowatts. You can lower it down if you wanted to for some reason, but I've left mine at 3.6 kilowatts. So what that does mean, obviously with the GivEnergy solution, if you were trying to say boil a kettle and use a microwave and a toaster, that might be more than 3.6 kilowatts. So obviously then it would pull from the grid in those situations. So again, keep that in mind. Compared to some other systems like my Tesla Powerwall 2, that can charge and discharge at 5 kilowatts. So again, I have 5 plus 3.6 now, so even less chance I'm going to have to pull from the grid when using lots of energy in the house. But that's again only for the battery. So if you're generating 5 kilowatts of solar and then you need extra 3.6 from the battery as well, I think that is potentially possible. I've not actually proven or tested that out. Leave a note in the comments if you've tested that yourself. In theory, would it limit itself to 5? Probably would limit itself to 5, wouldn't it? That makes sense. But anyway, the other thing that is good about the GivEnergy system, I've not got it set up right now, but under here is a port for an EPS circuit, so you can wire that in to, again, a plug or another consumer unit like I'm going to do, so that then in the event that there is a grid failure, then both the solar and the batteries will still continue to work and power that circuit. However, that circuit is limited to 16 amps, so obviously make sure you're not trying to charge a car or anything off that circuit. But again, lights, a few sockets should be absolutely fine. My plan is for this extension that I'm doing in the new office and everything, that will go onto the EPS circuit, so kind of one portion of the house will have backup power in the event that there is a power outage and we've still got sun and the batteries are full. And you can set a discharge kind of setting on the battery, so you always have a certain percentage of reserve. By default it's set to 4%. You can't have it any lower than that, but you could set it to like 100% only for backup. Okay, so before I go back in the house, you might be asking, if you already have a Tesla Powerwall 2, why didn't you buy another one? Why didn't you go with a Solar Edge or other things that you had previously at your last house? Well, the real reason for it is when I got the Tesla Powerwall 2, It hadn't been out that long in the UK. I think it was one of the first people in the UK to get one. And the price was relatively good, but at some points over the last kind of 12-18 months, the price of these Tesla Powerwall 2s went to nearly £12,000, I think it was. Now you can get them for around £7,000 again, but again, that's 13.5 usable kilowatts. Each of the GivEnergy batteries are 9.5 kilowatts, 100% usable, so 100% depth of discharge. And basically I've got 2 of these GivEnergy batteries for slightly less than it would have cost to buy another Tesla Powerwall 2. So I've got 19 kilowatts of usable storage versus 13.5 units of kilowatts hours of storage if I got another Powerwall. Of course, yes, the Tesla Powerwall has its own inverter in there, but obviously if I'm getting solar, I was going to have to get an inverter anyway, so that all works together. And I actually only have the original Gateway 1, which doesn't support full house backup, and that'd be another £2,000 on top of the price of the battery to get that installed as well. So again, it made a lot more sense to me. If I'm getting a new setup, go with it, GivEnergy, check out their products, see how it works, and get, I think, a nice install and better pound per kilowatt hour in terms of storage as well. So we'll see if that pays off over time. I'm going to still do the monthly updates and stuff now that we've got solar again, and see how that goes. But yeah, that's my main reasons why. I did look at other battery storage and other inverter solutions, but I decided again, overall, in terms of what I've read about support, warranty, both of these products warranted for 12 years and unlimited cycles on the batteries, so it's really good warranty. Hopefully again we don't need it, but again that's better than the 10 years unlimited cycles on the Tesla Powerwall 2. So yeah, I'm happy with it so far. We're going to see how it works month after month. Let's go inside and look at the app on the phone and the desktop, and then give you my final thoughts. Okay, so we're back here in the study. We're going to check out now the GivEnergy app and the web interface. Now the app from GivEnergy is available for iOS and Android. So we'll just load this up here, and you'll be able to see it over here on the side. So you can see when it first connects, it connects in what's called away mode. That's connecting through the GivEnergy cloud. And then once it's found the connection on your local network, it switches obviously to the local connection to the inverter. When you're connected locally, it updates every 10 seconds. So you can see there, last updated 2, 3, 4, and so once it gets to 10, go back to 0 again. And then the cloud app, I think it updates every 3 to 5 minutes, something like that. So you can see right now at the top, we're currently generating 3.02 kilowatts of electricity. 84 watts of that is going into the battery. You can see it's obviously varying quite a lot. And you can see here 93% battery. And that's one of the reasons why only a little bit of the charge is going into the battery. What I've noticed is, unlike my Tesla Powerwall 2, the GivEnergy battery operates a bit more like the batteries in your electric vehicle. By that, what I mean is, as it gets to the top of the charge rate slows right down. So I've seen some really odd variances, which I'm currently speaking to GivEnergy about, and their technical team are actually excellent. But it seems to limit to about 585 watts, like we're seeing on the screen right now. Anywhere from as low as 60% up to kind of 80%-ish. So the charge rate really does drop off. But we can see what's happening right now is my electric car is being charged with the My Energy Zappy, which is what's consuming 6.52 kilowatts. 33 watts is going out to the grid. And you can see that little icon with the bulb and the money, that's connected. Basically, you tell it what your tariff is, so it's telling you how much it's costing you at the moment, obviously, which is 0. And if we click on the little picture of the leaf, that talks about the carbon intensity in your local area. So we can see here, it's a bit crap, this bit. All that massive bit is taken up where it says the carbon intensity. You've got this little bit at the bottom where you can look at solar, 29.9, nuclear, 21.3, etc. Be a bit better if that could all vanish off. But again, if we look at different things like the solar again, it shows you how much has been generated so far today. Going back for the costs, 48 pence so far today, battery, 2.47 kilowatts from the grid, 2.62 from solar discharge, 3.55 kilowatts discharge to the grid, 10 watts. Again, back in the middle there. So it's quite informative. Then at the bottom we've got a couple more options. So there's like this kind of graph which you obviously can give the breakdown both for the last 24 hours. So we can see solar can go on and off. You know, it's very cloudy today. House consumption, battery. And again, you can turn all these on and off if you just want to see battery information or perhaps see just solar stuff. And again, we can go back to previous days. As you can tell, since I've got the solar working, the generation hasn't been fantastic here. Then we've got the bar graph. So again, different breakdown of the energy, showing you kind of where things have gone for what. Again, so house consumption, solar generation, how much went into the battery, how much came out of the battery, how much went from the grid to the home, how much you put to the grid from solar. So that's another thing, I still need to sign up to that seg with Octopus. And then finally on the end there is some battery information, where again we can see obviously the chart of battery information. And because I have two batteries, we can click on more information and we can see kind of the capacities of both of them. So primary batteries at 90% and a secondary battery at 92%. Then quickly just pop in, obviously there can be smart plugs that you can get from GivEnergy as well. There are smart tariff information, EV chargers, other things that you can do as well. And you can also set and configure eco mode. That basically maximizes the use of the solar as opposed to pulling from the grid. Time charging, and you can set that again, charge to 100%. Times discharging. I've found that if you've got eco mode on, you don't need to use this time discharge, it will work itself out. Timed export, again, I'm not exporting anything from my battery at the moment, but you can see where it says there, discharge to 4%. That's the lowest that you can have the batteries discharged to, 4%. So this is a thing I'm not doing right now, but I will do a video of it in the future. I'm not using the EPS circuit at the moment, but once the extension work is finished, I'll wire all that in, that'll be wired into the EPS circuit. Battery options, again, you've got some options here about if you're going to charge at the full 3.6 kilowatts or discharge at full 3.6 kilowatts. And again, back to that reserve, you can change it to whatever you want, but the minimum is 4%. Again, once I have the EPS circuit running, I might make it so it doesn't just charge past 50% or something, or 40%, and then I'll switch to using the Tesla Powerwall for the rest. And then again, you can reset things to defaults if you want. So that's the app, and then pretty much the same information can be seen, but in a little bit more detail on the web app. So let's get that open and show you that. Okay, so now I've logged into the GivEnergy Cloud in my web browser, so I'm going to show you what that looks like. So you can see here, once you get things opened, it goes to what they call your dashboard, and you can configure this a little bit in more detail if you want. So in the top left hand corner, we've got a window that's basically got the power graph, and it switches through different things. So what's happening in terms of battery discharge, solar generation, load power, all that kind of thing. So relatively useful, but again, you can change that if you want to get things moved around on the screen a little bit. The main thing for me on this page is typically the kind of what I call the header bar. So we can see right now generating 5.4 kilowatts. The house, or basically all the loads, are consuming 4.4 kilowatts. As mentioned, currently charging my car of any surplus, as well as topping up the battery. And we can see charging the batteries there, 93%, 584 watts going into the battery, and then 160 watts being exported to the grid. And then just below on the header bar, this is basically constantly changing you information. So we've got generation total at the moment, obviously since when the solar was first installed, generation today, consumption today, charge today, export today, and basically that just keeps on changing. Then a rather large picture that is showing kind of the current status of your home. So obviously I've got 12 panels, which is how many's on there, solar generation going into the inverter, into the battery, and obviously a bit out to the grid. And it's also showing that the forecast is a bit cloudy today, even though it's generating quite nicely at the moment. Then just below here in the energy graph, again, a bit more information we can see, which we can toggle through. So energy graph shows current solar to home, grid to home, battery to home, and we can click on the different icons to see different things. So generation, battery in, battery out, grid to home, solar to grid. Same as what we could see on the other screen. Basically, as I mentioned, we can move these things around if we want to and flick them into different parts of the screen, which is quite nice, and then enlarge them and do other things. Then the section for my inverter just gives you a bit of information about today. So 13.6 kilowatts hours generated so far today, 732 kilowatt hours energy in total, and currently generating 4.6 kilowatts. Not quite sure how this varies from the information at the top there. It's worth noting the web browser, again, because it's using the cloud, isn't updated every 10 seconds. It's every kind of 3 to 5 minutes or whatever it is. Bit lower down, we can see what the weather forecast is in your area. So you can see sunny but cloudy and rainy. And then finally, smart tariff information. So you basically can put in your tariff information here. So for me, Intelligent Octopus Go. And again, I imported from the grid 13.66 kilowatt hours last night, or early hours of this morning. That was to heat up the hot water a little bit, as well as top up the batteries. You can see that's estimating costing me around £1.04. If I had the EV charger, that would be down here as well. If we look on the left hand side, we can obviously edit the dashboard. There's this option for give back, which I think is, again, if you're exporting some stuff, which is not something I'm doing. Information about account settings, access to the GivEnergy community, known issues, FAQs, etc. Also notifications, so if your batteries are doing firmware updates, battery calibrations, you can see all that information in here. And then the other section that I use on here is if you go into my inverter, you can see your software versions and go into, again, a bit more detail about again, some of those notifications, change some of the settings, like we could change in the app for that eco mode, time charge, time of discharge, etc. See some information about the system, which again, more useful and beneficial for troubleshooting. PV data, again, a bit more information on the graphs and the different strings. Battery data, as we mentioned before, this is where, as I mentioned, battery at 86% drops down to that 580 watts, but we didn't really use too much yesterday. Bit of grid data, inverter information. So basically, there's lots of information to see in here. And then what's also helpful is these reports. So again, I'm going to be using these for when it comes to my monthly reporting that I do again, but we can get these automatically generated as well as simply have a look at them. So if I look at April, get that to come open now. Do we do that? We can see obviously when this is installed, kind of towards the end of April, a bit of information about kind of what the generation was. So we can see since it was installed in April, 60.43 kilowatt hours of energy came from the battery into the house, 183 kilowatts from the grid. Our self-consumption is 94.67, so not much going back to the grid. Again, we would have spent £39.45 on energy from the grid if we'd imported stuff. That's how much it would have cost. So it gives a rough idea of the billing, and then information on the solar. So again, how much solar we generated since it was installed in April, where that went, how much we got from the grid. Again, a bit of information in this energy flow graph as well. I actually really like the charts on here, much better than the charts I had, in my opinion, from the Solar Edge I had in the past, as well as the Tesla Powerwall. I think this works really, really well and gives all the information that I'm interested in for sure. Again, so we can see highest and lowest solar days, highest and lowest consumption days, highest and lowest battery information days, highest and lowest grid days. So really great reports. I look forward to using these on the monthly basis. So I hope this video has been helpful, especially if you're thinking about going the GivEnergy route and interested in the inverters and the batteries. Again, it's still been early days, but apart from little quirks of me still trying to understand the system, I got no regrets going with the GivEnergy Hybrid Inverter and those two batteries. I think in terms of the system, it's working well. I love the web interface. Actually, I think it's good, and I think pound per kilowatt and everything, it's a really good value system. And like I mentioned before, both during the install and post-install, I've had a couple of situations where I've called GivEnergy tech support, and they answer really quickly, and they're really kind of helpful. So no regrets. I'm looking forward to the system working really well. And as mentioned, I'll do another kind of video in the future that talks about kind of how this system is working with my Tesla Powerwall 2, and then probably some follow-up ones in terms of how it works with the MyEnergy infrastructure. So that'd be the Zappy Gen 2, the Eddy, the Harvey, and all that sort of stuff. Basically how my solar system is fitting together and working. So hope it's helped. Any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section. I will read them and get back to you. Also, you can consider joining our Discord group if you want, as well as supporting the channel more directly, becoming a Spectrum Geeks YouTube member. But as always, thanks so much for watching. If you liked it, please like it. Please consider subscribing if you don't already. Until next video, take care of yourself, and goodbye for now.